3. Jonathan Wild, Criminal Genius. Chapter 1. Crime Pays. Jonathan Wild was the 18th century's most famous criminal. He was born in Staffordshire in the north of England in 1682, and when he was 15 his father sent him to work for a buckle maker in Birmingham. He worked there for 7 years, and then moved to Wolverhampton, where he married and set up a business on his own. He and his wife had a son, and for 2 years they seemed to live fairly happily together. Wild, however, found his life in Wolverhampton too boring, and he decided to move to London, leaving his wife and son behind. Things did not go well for him in the big city, however, and he soon fell into debt. As he was unable to pay his debts, he was arrested and sent to prison. He remained a prisoner for more than 4 years. Later, when he wrote about his criminal life, he said that it was the experience of mixing with criminals in Wood Street Prison that made him choose crime as a career. While he was in prison, Wild made many friends among the other prisoners and formed a relationship with a woman called Mary Milliner. When they were released from prison, Wild and Milliner lived together as husband and wife, and they used her money or their money from illegal practices to open a tavern in Cock Alley. It played an important part in Wild's criminal career and became a legendary place in the history of crime. The usual customers of the tavern were criminals, and they soon found that Wild was a sympathetic and interested listener. They told him about the robberies they had recently committed, and they revealed their plans for future crimes. This gave Wild enormous power over them. If Wild told the authorities about the crimes, they might arrest them. Instead of doing this, however, Wild helped the criminals by hiding stolen property in his house and selling it for them. It was not difficult for Wild to sell the stolen articles because at the time it was not a crime to receive or sell stolen property. Parliament soon changed the law, however, and a new crime of receiving stolen property came into existence. The punishment for this offence was transportation for 15 years. Wild was determined to continue his profitable business with the criminals, but the new law worried him. He did not want to be arrested for receiving stolen property. So he invited the criminals to a meeting in his tavern. "I can't take the goods you steal anymore," he explained. "It's too dangerous, but I have a suggestion that will make us all rich." The criminals were very excited. "You won't make much money if you try to sell the goods to other receivers of stolen property. Bring everything to me," he continued, "and I'll arrange to return all the goods to their owners in exchange for some money." The criminals were pleased with Wild's plan, and they decided to do as he suggested. Wild found several places around London to keep the stolen goods that the criminals gave him. The new plan worked very well. When a criminal came to him with an item that he had stolen, Wild went to the person who had been robbed. He explained that he had a friend, an honest trader, who had bought the item and wanted to return it because he guessed that it had been stolen. Wild suggested that the owner should pay the honest trader a fee for the goods. Many people were so pleased to have the chance of getting their property back that they willingly paid half the value of the property as the fee to Wild's trader friend. This fee, of course, was then divided between Wild and the criminal. Wild did not receive any money directly from the owners of the stolen property, who only paid the fee to his non-existent trader. There was no law against this type of business, and for a considerable time Wild was very successful and became very rich. He even opened an office where people who had been robbed could come and ask his help in getting their property back. Wild charged everyone who came to the office a small fee for his advice. He then asked for a full description of the goods that had been taken, and how much the owners were prepared to pay to recover the goods. All you have to do is describe the stolen goods and tell me how much you're willing to pay for the recovery, and I'll make investigations into your case, Wilde told the client. I'll do the rest. The client then returned to Wilde's office to find out how the investigation was proceeding. Unfortunately, on this occasion I haven't been able to recover your property, Wilde began. I've heard through a contact that the thieves are determined to sell the property for more money than you've offered to recover the object. However, if you wanted to offer more money, maybe they'd reconsider. This tactic was so successful that most of the owners increased their offer for the return of their goods. Wilde's interviews with the victims of crime allowed him to find out how truthful the thieves were with him. The thieves were frightened of Wilde's power over them, and most of them told him the truth about their crimes. Wilde's imagination was now so involved in the planning of crimes that he even invented some new forms of crime. He realized that there were a lot of articles that had no real value except to the owners themselves. The things I want you to steal are books of accounts, watches and rings, he told his thieves. All of these are personal items that are important to their owners, and I am sure they'll pay very high fees in order to recover them.